Welcome to the Color of Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Today I have a special guest. Reinhardt Kenneth is a LA-based Indonesian fashion and celebrity photographer. He was a prodigy at just 14 and was discovered by Vogue Italia's late Franca Sozzani and has since been featured in the likes of the Louvre, Vogue Italia, Basel Miami, and many other prestigious platforms. His ability to transform a social message or issue into fashionable yet thought-provoking imagery has granted him a true platform of creation and revolution. Reinhardt, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having me, Stephanie.
Absolutely, the Louvre. I loved it. I took that, obligatory picture with my hand on top of it, and the kids are below. But tell me all about your creative process and your career in fashion photography at such a young age.
I started really young. I started when I was 14. But even before that, I've always been an artist in general. So everyone in my family's in fashion. My that side of the family, they own a textile store. My mom is a fashion designer. My aunt literally does like jewelry. Everyone's in fashion. So it's always sort of came natural for me just to do fashion. And art, obviously. And it was for so long, like ever since I was a kid, I literally learned how to draw before I learned how to like write and like literally do any other motor skills. So it's always been a very natural form of expression and form of just a form of me to like communicate with the world, I feel. So for me, the creative process, it started from a place where I had a lot of feelings that I can't really get out, or I felt like was invalidated growing up, whether that being by society or being, just like, these feelings are just in your head, right? So for me, I just remember being so young and being so like dramatic, and I was always like, this is my way of vomiting my brain into a piece of canvas and making that beautiful. Whether, back in the day that was through drawing or, photography, because I like to really believe that I'm an artist first, a photographer second. Photography is really just as much as like a brush stroke or like a paintbrush to a painter, or, the tools to make a sculpture, for a sculptor, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's always been my form of expression. So yeah.
I was going to say it's really a great medium because you're able to channel your emotions into these different art forms. And as a child, especially when we do play therapy and things like that, children don't yet have the words to express their emotions. And so being able to have dramatic play and draw and paint and have melodies, those are all just really important aspects of developing one's socio-emotional skills and development. So your mom and your entire family is in the fashion, artistic, entertainment industry. And by the way, so your mom is Diana Putri of Diana Couture. And can we just bottle her entire being into something and pretty much package it, because your mom looks like she's in her 20s and you obviously look youthful as well, even though you are young.
I look 12, hopefully.
I do too without my makeup. I'll take off my eyelashes, right? But tell me about how she's influenced your life and your career and just kind of the way that you express yourself.
We have a very special bond in a way where it's like, yeah, she's my mom, but she's also my best friend. She's also my collaborator. She's a lot of different things for me. So growing up, I was very close to her. She definitely introduced me to a lot of things, whether that be, the arts or fashion or anything. But I feel like one word to really describe her would be, and I'm not trying to be like sappy and like dramatic or anything.
It's okay. This is, there's no judgment in this space.
No, literally, I really feel like she's like a warrior queen in her own right, because she literally didn't even go to fashion school. She didn't really grow up thinking she was going to be a designer, but she knew she loved fashion. And I feel like she encapsulates the perfect balance between being a fashion designer, being somewhat of a celebrity now in Indonesia, actually, being a mom, being a wife, being a daughter, being all these different things. And I think that's what's so inspirational, because it's like, there's this Ariana Grande song called Positions, and it's about this like woman like taking so many different positions. And I think that's so empowering, because women were so, and this is a big part of my inspiration, are powerful women. And that's the women I shoot usually, because to shoot someone that's so vulnerable and delicate, yet so strong in her own right, and being able to take so many different positions and so many different roles in a lifetime. I think that's so powerful. And she hasn't had the easiest journey. We've had our tough days and all that stuff. And in the end of the day, she is really a warrior, because she's one of the strongest, one of the most resilient, and one of the most humble and patient people I've met. Like, there are times where I literally would be on the phone where I would be like, yo, if I were you, I would like fucking snap. But literally, like, she's always so kind, so genuine. And I think that's one message that I really learned from her, is to be kind no matter what, is to be gracious no matter what, is to be graceful no matter what, to be the bigger person no matter what. And it's funny because our journey really correlated in the same time, because she was already doing a lot of custom work in Indonesia before her first collection. She didn't do her first collection until her 8th year maybe. And she did New York Fashion Week. I remember I was supposed to go on a trip to Bali with my friends, and something happened and I didn't end up going. But I just know that God and the universe wanted us to like really work on this together, because the minute I didn't go, she got a call for New York, not having a collection in the past. And they were like, yo, like, we want you to do this collection. And we were brainstorming something where we wanted it to still feel very Indonesian, but not like in your face, like a traditional, almost like cheesy way of like doing that. And we were looking for teams and stuff. And she was like, if we don't find a team by the end of this day, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, you have to do it. Are you crazy? They hand selected you. And I remember the constitution of Indonesia is symbolized by the Garuda bird. And funny enough, one of the first shows I watched growing up was Digimon. And she was like, she was the one who was like buying me like Digimon DVDs and PCDs and all that stuff. And there's a Digimon called Garudamon. And literally, like, I just thought about Garudamon for some weird reason. And I was like, what about the Garuda bird? And she was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, oh my God. And then a few months later, she did Fashion Week. This is right after high school for me too. So I was taking a gap year. I was supposed to move to Australia. That was a whole nother story on its own. She went to New York. She won an award. We worked on this collection together. Obviously, she did the fashion part. I did more on like the creative direction, like the presentation, the music, all that stuff. And once it came out, we just knew we worked so well as a team. And I got her PR out here in LA a month later, and I ditched on my scholarship, which was hard because like I felt like I worked for it. And we just never looked back, and we were like on the other side of the world, but like we talk to each other every day. She's literally my best friend. And it's so great to have, in a way, a business partner, a best friend, and a mother in the same package, because it's like, you know, that person's not going to do you dirty. You know what I'm saying? You know, that person's got your back no matter what. That person wants you to succeed. So yeah, in a way, we have a very special bond, and I'm very lucky. And she also always mentions that she's very lucky. And yeah, that's a very cool way to put it in 5 minutes.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And I can just feel the love coming through the screen right now, you know, and just that collaboration and that love. I also have a very special relationship with my mother, similarly, like a best friendship. Now we're a little bit more, you know, friendly with the cuss words with each other. But amazing to have that, right? It's just so special. So I'm wondering, you've done so many different projects, and the one with your mom sounds really special, but any favorite photo shoot? I really like the recent one with the chips and the blending, and nothing is on the nose for you. So has there been one that stands out to you?
Obviously, a different day or a different era in my life, I would literally favor one work over the other. But that's the thing, as artists, we're our biggest critique, and sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. And I feel like every work, whether that's very polished and very recent, or very young and very rebellious and raw in a way and not well done, they all have a special part in my heart because they all represented a period of time as an artist for me, right? So I feel like right now the one that resonates to me the most is the project that you actually mentioned. It's called Day in COVID. It's a fashion editorial for Harper's Bazaar Vietnam. And I think what's so special about it is we shot it at the end of a pandemic, where I wanted it to reflect what we've been through. Because the thing was, like, my work all over pandemic was about hope, 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 love, 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 even though it might feel very anarchist and angry. Like Hate Us Fires obviously really blew up on its own, obviously with the amazing organization, much love to, Michelle and Tammy. But basically on the other end of the spectrum, I wanted this one to encapsulate almost a darker sense, where I felt like we were in a very surreal, very Salvador Dali inspired world where the whole pandemic felt surreal, right? And I almost wanted it. The initial idea was like, how like we would always have these editorials where it's like, oh, next season styles, and you have like the craziest couture from like this season for next season, and the girls would be like walking around in like New York City or like the laundromat, and it's very fun and almost campy and very like, no one's gonna wear that, like we know that. Right? But the thing with me was like, when I did this, it's like, wait, hold on a minute. Like, they start wearing masks, they start wearing face shields. They even the fashion film that the amazing Matthew Freiheit did, he did this world that started out very like breakfast at Tiffany's, very couture and expensive. And then it sort of like transitioned into this very like trippy world where it was dark. And it was not okay, and we were not okay, and the whole pandemic felt like we were not okay, right? So I wanted that to be encapsulated and still sell the fashion and still be like, okay, that's a gorgeous couture gown or like a statement jewelry piece or something. So I feel like that's a favorite right now because I felt like it really reflected that. Another favorite is obviously 2020, the year of hope, which I did in the middle of the pandemic with like literally 40 really amazing people that I still like love to this day. But it's just the nature of how it all happened. And it was really, truly the spirit of collaboration and the universe aligning, because the message was to find hope through unity in times of adversity. And I remember going to Joshua Tree and I got that message and I felt like there was this like portal in the sky and it was like crazy. And I got the whole vision 2 weeks later at brunch. And we did this fashion film with 7 very diverse girls, from very different backgrounds. There was a Black girl, white girl, Asian girl. There was a trans girl who was attacked in Hollywood. There's a Middle Eastern girl. There's an Indonesian girl, which that's where I'm from. And there's a Brazilian girl. And they all represented different tragedies in 2020, whether that being COVID or Black Lives Matter or Asian hate or all the war that was happening or the forest fires or, one of the most powerful one was the trans hate, because Jaslene White Rose, who's so amazing, really let it out because she was attacked in Hollywood. And that was just such a surreal moment because I felt like I'm the kind of artist who's been so powerful about his voice for so long that when I did this for once, I was like, I just snapped and I was like, okay, like, this is the message I want to put together. This is the story. But I came to a point where like, this was no longer my story. This was their story. And this was everyone's story because like, I had the experience as an Asian man, but like, I didn't have the experience as like all these other identities that these girls represented. So I wanted to give them a platform, yet not glamorize their pain. And that was like the fine line that I was really, really like making sure it went through. And I really feel like God really works in very mysterious ways, because the minute I manifested this, the next day, Talent Fashion Week, the DM me and my mom was just like, "Hey, Aston Martin Bangkok wants to like sponsor you with a slot." And I was just like, "Amazing!" We literally just planned a fashion film, and that came out so beautifully, so beautifully. Everyone was so amazing there, and obviously, Haters of Fires was very special. We shot that in the beginning of the pandemic, right before lockdown, and I felt like as Asians, we were taught for so long to be silent and not to be problematic and not to have a voice almost. And it's like, I felt like for once I was like, this is my time. This is my time to say something, because I'm not gonna let my brothers and sisters out there, be trampled. And I was told growing up that the international look was to hire white models, and that's okay. That's a market for that. But I felt like there needs to be representation. And I feel like with Hate is a Virus, it was the main cast and the main crew even were all Asian, men and women. And they were just so amazing. And it was so amazing.
That's so inspiring. And I think, getting emotions out there and other people's stories and giving, like you said, a voice and a platform. That's what this is. And the power of social media. And I just messaged you because I loved your work and I loved the story that you put out there. And I was like, I have got to talk to him,
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, this is an honor to basically not to be too dramatic again, but all of my life, I felt like I started art wanting to create change. And then I moved to LA and that got lost in translation. And I was creating really beautiful images that I didn't have the same resources growing up. But then it's like, it was a beautiful image, but it didn't really have a definitive purpose in the world or my world. They were just beautiful. And then the pandemic really put me into a place where that person that wanted to create change and that person who had all the resources and all the everything, drama, whatever, just merged into this, just collided into one and meshed into one. And I was just like, it was almost like a Pokemon evolving, right? I was evolving to the next stage where I was creating work that felt selfless, but was so powerful. And I didn't get the same kind of recognition that I did then when I was so focused on the numbers and the this and the that and all that bullshit. And I'm really, really lucky to encapsulate that, because I feel like as artists, we're not politicians, we're not writers, we're not people who might really make a sudden definitive political cultural change, but we have that platform and we have that voice. And art is really one of those things that's so universal that someone in the other side of the world who doesn't speak the same language we do can look at it and feel something. And that to me is a universal language, even though it can be implemented in so many different ways, right? Absolutely. And so many different perspectives. And I feel like that's what's so beautiful and powerful about art in general.
And, I've noticed that many of the artists that I've talked to are high empaths like myself. And so given that, I'm sure you absorb a lot of other people's emotions. How do you cope with that? Because even when you were telling me the lineup of wonderful, inspiring people on your documentary, I was like, wow, that must have been a lot to take in though.
Yeah, of course. So being an empath, right? And being an artist especially, I feel like my feelings and my emotions are both my strength and my weaknesses. I just have to garner it, harness it, and filter it in a way where I had to make sure I was okay, right? And for so long, I wasn't. For so long, little things that were happening to the world would really affect me, and I would always want to say something, or I absorb other people's energies, and sometimes it does really get a lot where it's I want to help this person, but you're literally going to trigger me if I don't filter this, right? So for me, I found sort of a silver lining, and I'm still learning. I'm learning every day. I'm still learning, and I really feel like we're not ever going to be truly okay until like we really like, eventually pass. I feel like we're always learning something new, and that's what's so beautiful. And I hope that's for the better. But for me, it's to realize that this is my art and this is my life. And no matter how much they affect each other, these are two very different things where like, I have to realize that in the end of the day, when I feel okay that day and I feel like I want to speak out for someone who's not okay, or the other way around, whatever, I'm not gonna lie, I recognize my privilege. I recognize my, and obviously there's always gonna be that like guilt in being that survivor's guilt, right? The guilt of like being okay and being, having the privilege and stuff. But I use that to help other people, to tell stories and all that stuff, but in the same time, not let it get to me. And it wasn't actually until a few weeks ago that I really learned self-love, and it's so important. I just looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, you have great family, you have great friends, you hopefully have a great career.
You have a great career, clearly.
Have great art and everything, and just have that sense of gratefulness and gratitude and love for the world and love for yourself. And that's one thing that actually really took a long time with self-love for me. And that's why I was so easily triggered by like little things that would happen to the other side of the world, because I didn't love myself. And this is like probably one of the first times like I'm saying I didn't love myself for so long. And now that I do, now that I've like really realized that, I feel like no matter what, no matter how much things could affect me, I know I got me. I know I got myself. And that's important. And that's one thing that I really need to like really, really keep in mind, no matter what, no matter how bad the day gets, no matter how depressed I am that day, I need to like know that I love myself and got myself and value myself. So, yeah.
And I know anxiety and depression have diagnostic criterias. And, we're also talking about self-love, or even on the other side, self-loathing. What does it feel like when you go through that cycle?
I feel like when I start photography, I wasn't in my best state, and I didn't even know that. I thought I was okay. I was not. I was going through puberty. I had all these insecurities about like, I felt like, and this might sound a little selfish, but I wanted to leave my mark in this world. And I know it was for the better, and I know it was to inspire people and everything, but in a way it became very selfish for so long. So for me, basically I've learned to sort of, again, like literally vomit my mind into my canvas, my images, my shutter speed, right? And that was my way of expressing it. It was a lot of like, painting with the shadows to create light, because photography in the end of the day is the art of painting with light. And I did it in a time where I was looking for that light, and I painted with my shadows. And in the end of the day, it was about orchestrating an alternate reality, a surreal image where we're so obsessed with that one lie, whether it's that girl camouflaging in a bag of chips, or whether that's like a very amazing, insane goddess like transcending into the heavens or something. But the message behind it was always very real. It came from my restless thoughts. It came from my love for the world. It came from my suffering that I didn't even know at that time. It came from a place where I really wanted to leave this mark, and I wanted my art to so desperately for so long felt loving and kind and transcendent, but in a way where it's like I wanted that. I catered to so much goddess-like images and powerful images because I wanted my art to be powerful. I wanted my art to be transcendent, and I wanted my art to be that anchor that someone could look at and feel okay in the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that for so long until like literally maybe right now. Like I'm literally on a like train of thought right now where I'm like, holy shit, this conversation is like making me realize a lot of things actually.
It tends to happen when you sit down with them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm like, literally. But for I wanted my art to inspire people in a way where someone could look at it and not know me and feel something. And also in a way where they would know me and know my story and realize that like, hey, I'm just another 14-year-old kid in the other side of the world, feeling like I could never be where, you know, Reinhardt or whoever the fuck is right there. But like literally, like you have just as much chances as I do because I came from Indonesia and I like really worked hard and garnered my emotions and everything. And for so long, I had that fear of being wrong at what I was doing. But then I was realizing I was never in the wrong because I'm making art. I'm not trying to change the world by changing the fucking climate. I'm trying to change the world by inspiring people and creating images that make people feel and make myself feel.
So you alluded to kind of the struggles coming from Indonesia and trying to make your mark, you know, on the world, but also to have an impact, a positive impact. And tell us a little bit about that path, because Indonesia, give us a sense of what it's like, because clearly LA is its own little city in itself, world,
exactly,
bubble.
exactly.
Yeah. So
100%.
How is it maybe different or overlapping?
I feel like right now it's so much different because people are way more open-minded about art and everyone now wants to be a makeup artist or something. But these same people were the same people I grew up with that would plant things in my mind. And I knew maybe it came from a place of love, but they would be like, and these are not family. My family's always been very supportive. Thank God I love them. Literally came from a family that was so supportive of my craft since day one. But these would be school friends who would be like, are you sure you're going to be an artist? Mm. And they're the ones who ended up dropping out of law school or being a doctor. And I mean, like, I'm not saying this in an insulting way at all. I mean, more power to them. They're doing great. But like some of them are makeup artists right now. And you're just like, bro, I thought you thought that was bullshit, you know? But basically moving to LA, it was a lot of like experiences that I was like, I felt like no matter where I went and I would talk to someone, there's always that like silver lining where it's like, hey, I'm not from here. I'm trying to do very amazing creative stuff. And if the vibe connects, like that is the spirit of collaboration. And that's what's so great because everyone here, like literally like is so supportive of my journey. And when they see my work, they see that they see my journey and they see the I want to say this out loud, but the talent and the passion. But yeah, and actually one more point I wanted to add to what we were speaking about earlier was art was always very healing for me. And I hope I really, really highly suggest for anyone who's even slightly creative, use it to heal because it's the most effective way to me, at least, because you make really, really cool shit from it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing is that from suffering sometimes comes a lot of self-reflection and change and evolution, as we're talking about like Pokemon. But like, seriously, literally. I think the skills get leveled up and thinking a lot about, I'm a huge Army. So just seeing the Louis Vuitton video and just what they stand for and loving yourself. I mean, they truly help facilitate that message. And so
are you talking about BTS? Mm-hmm. Oh, love that. Yeah. I've been really getting into Blackpink heavy.
Oh,
recently,
my husband is a blank.
Queens.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. Still manifesting a Sour Candy music video. So,
yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I really hope that happens.
I know. Literally best track ever. But
it would just, Gaga and Blackpink, like what they would come up with, it would just be.
I know. My mom was calling me, and this is off topic, but my mom was calling me and was just like, hey, Jenny and Rose are in LA. I was like, how do you know? And she was like, because Queens. I was like, okay. And they were like, can we dress her? And I was just like, well, non-disclosure, but like we dressed Gaga. She wore one of her masks, but she has a few pieces too. So manifesting sour candy, even though this chances are very little, but whatever. We can keep this. We can keep it out. Whatever. I don't really care.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I talk about, I slide in BTS in like every interview because I'm like, oh, Reinhardt.
As you should.
I'm manifesting that because, you know who to call when that happens for you.
As you should.
So, one of the things that we're talking about too is all these kinds of forms of art. And I think Blackpink does that, BTS does that. So how else do you self-care? Because there must be other things that you dedicate your time to outside of photography and painting and all that.
You know what? This is so crazy because I remember being in this really random conversation one day, and it was some stupid party from years ago, but some girl was asking me, was just like, oh, what's your hobby, right? And I was just like, photography. But the thing was like, because that was my hobby. It started out as a hobby and became my job. And I mean, I'm very lucky. But the thing was like during the pandemic, like I started playing Animal Crossing at one point, and it was so fun and everything. And then I tried to like hunt down this one fish, and it took me like hours and hours and hours.
You sound like my mom.
And I was just like, wait. And then I edited after that, and I asked myself, I was like, why am I having fun editing, and then feeling like I have to work for this one fucking fish that's like not giving me any real money or any game money? It was just like a donation to the museum. And I'm here just like, why am I suddenly like a part of like the New York elite, like trying to like donate fish? And literally like, I don't know, I just find so much love in what I do. And it's so great just doing that. But self-care, I don't know, maybe doing a face mask on a Sunday and, breaking my diet and retouching my roots. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the learning, right? And I think like you're saying, it's great to have hobbies outside. The and part is you truly, truly embody and love your work. And that's what most people are searching for their lives, is how can you find meaning and purpose in what you're doing. And I think, like you said, it's not just about taking pictures of high fashion. While that's amazing, you have a greater message to share. And
I feel like, speaking about purpose real quick, I feel like a lot of people look for their purpose and they're trying to find their purpose in life, and a lot of them don't. I felt like for me, I tried to just create my purpose, and almost, like my work's a lot of like fabricating reality. So it is a little bit of a lie, maybe, where I was young and I felt like I didn't have a place in the world, and I tried to create that purpose, and kind of found it because I created it myself. So I don't know, just a thought. Like, this could be completely inappropriate for a lot of people, obviously. So I don't want to like trigger anyone, but maybe you have to create your own purpose. Maybe you have to create your own opportunities and create your own narrative, because no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to, a lot of people are going to create opportunities for you, but you have to present yourself. Because I literally been in sets where I'm not 18, 19, 20, 21, 14 anymore, where I'm the youngest in the room. But there's so many times I was the youngest in the room, and I had to lead that. And I had to like just put my big boy shoes on and make sure my hair is in place and make sure I look presentable and make sure that I wasn't bossing around. I was leading our collaborative process, and always being kind about it, but being not, I don't want to say blunt, but knowing what you want. And, no matter what, like, just letting it flow. And no matter if the person who's helping you out is like twice your age, you treat them with respect, but they also treat you with fucking respect. That's what's important, because you need to get the job done. So just an afterthought.
Tell me a little bit more though, because being the youngest of the room, and I've been there for sure. I mean, I manage people like double my age, and it's definitely a learning experience. But how do you deal with individuals that may have some difficult personalities on set, and I'm sure you've seen kind of the range. Like, how do you handle that, especially being at that time the youngest in the room?
I feel like a lot of times, and maybe, this is really like for all the photographers out there who give us a bad name, who are creepy photographers who sexually assault models. Like, please just stop doing that because you're giving us a bad rep. But I would walk to like a meeting or even like a bar and just like say I'm a photographer, and a lot of people are like, oh, cool. And I really, really, really hate having to like name drop, or like, not even like, I hate name dropping actually. I just like usually just pull up my work and I have like a PDF and I'm like, okay, this is my work, whatever. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to show you what I do, literally. And, 10 out of 10 times they have respect for me after that. And this is not me trying to like, like fucking respect. It was never that, but it's like, I respect you, you respect me, no matter how young I am, no matter anything, because like, I'm here just trying to create art, right? I'm not trying to like make this like a whole blame game or a whole like who's who kind of thing. And I'm very lucky to already have a strong portfolio and have like a decent pull when I moved to LA, where people are like, I want to work with you. Mm-hmm. So even though they were difficult, they were never really difficult to me. But I guess my advice to younger photographers or photographers who are starting out, who are incredibly talented and have the purest heart and might have a hard time with this, is be kind, but be brave and know your shit, know your work, because it shows in your body language if you're nervous about something. If I'm going to walk in a room and work with my dream collaborators today, I'm going to be really nice, really kind, really respectful, compliment their work, tell them they inspire me, but also bring my A game, where like, I'm not trying to impress them. I'm really trying to impress myself in a way,
Well, and be confident is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Confident in your work, confident in your vision, and be confident in being kind to other people. Because
back again, it's all about self-love. If you don't love yourself, who the fuck's gonna love you? If you don't respect yourself, then who else will respect you? And in the end of the day, if you don't value yourself, then no one's ever gonna value you.
Well, thinking about your future, I mean, it's clearly super bright. And what things can we look forward to? And where can people find your work?
I've been, to be honest with you, I've just been really doing a lot of like commission work, which is great. They're all really, really great. And I'm at a point where I love how like when someone hits me up, it's very like, I really like your work. I want to do something that's in your style. And that's the dream. That's the dream. And it hasn't been for a long time. It hasn't been like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy that the work I'm doing now is like, yeah, it's a little more commercial and pretty, but it's always been about like, because they like my work or like how like something I've done in the past. But for me, I guess what to expect in the near future is just know that no matter what I put out, that's not client work. From now on is going to come from a place that's very, very genuine, that's very kind and very loving and very hopeful. And I feel like this is almost a message to my younger self. And, mm-hmm. Sometimes I like have dreams when I'm hugging my younger self, who was in a way and didn't even realize it, was so broken and so insecure and hated himself and hated the world and didn't see how much love there was around him, didn't see how much work there was on him, because there was never any fault with my existence. I was always loved. I had a great family. I had great friends. I had great everything. And that didn't change. That never changed. That has just became better, right? Mm-hmm. But basically it came from a place where I want my work to be loving, and I want my work to feel like a warm hug to that little young, kid, and feel very healing for that, because I wish I had a Reinhardt to look up to when I was younger. And now I want to be that person to a lot of different people, and in a way to my younger self. And it in a way that is healing for me, that is healing to love my younger self. And to quote the Queen Gaga again, there's this other quote where it's like, if you don't have any shadows, you're not standing in the light. And for so long, it felt like that. It felt like that. Like, it felt like I was trying to paint light out of shadows. And now that we're out of the woods, now that we're in a better place, I want to reminiscent that darker place and pull out those experiences or pull out all the other shadows that's happening in the world. And maybe it feels like for a second I'm trying to create a utopia, but it's not utopia. It's a surreal world because it's like, look at me, like, look at this work, like, be obsessed with this lie and the glamour and the drama and the fashion and all the fucking amazing things in the image. But note that the message is literally the most important thing. And if you want hope in your life, and if you want a light in your life, you have to remember to be kind to one another, to love one another, and especially to yourself. Because if you're not kind to yourself and you don't love yourself, and, you know, obviously, like, gonna jump into anxiety real quick after this, it really shows. And it really affects you in ways that you couldn't even imagine. Where, oh my God, I'm quoting Gaga again, but it's like, she says, your biggest enemy is you, right? Like, your biggest enemy is you, and you don't even, like, realize that. And to me, I was actually struggling with anxiety for so long. That was actually the one experience I wanted to plot, but I didn't, like, really remember for a second. I was anxious for so long, and I didn't even realize that experience for a long time. And I would have my depressive moments, and I didn't even realize. And while these are self-diagnosed, there were days where, like, literally my teeth would be, like, clamping into each other, and I would have irrational fear, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why I was so scared about impressing this one person. But it was because I had no love for myself. I had no self-worth. I had no this, I had no that. And I'm not gonna lie, I still suffer from anxiety. I just tribute to my grandpa. I just lost my grandpa this past week, and it's my first time dealing with loss. And it's like, I'm still having a hard time, like, processing it. And I'm still dealing with shit. And will everything always, like, be this way? I hope not, but I'm not gonna lie, there will be moments like this. And this is for every single one of you watching. Anxiety is a very real thing, you know? And this is for all the little Reinhardts out there. It's like, own it. Literally own it. Like, literally, like, have your mental breakdown and then just pull yourself together.
Well, I think don't avoid it, you know, and I think a lot of people just kind of run away from it, and instead of leaning into it and saying, no, this is really sad. This is really difficult. And I feel crappy. I mean, that's, and I don't know if you've seen the movie Inside Out. It's kind of a couple years back.
Beautiful.
But just that whole idea, right, of, like, you can't know contentment, happiness without the anger, the sadness, and all the contrasting emotions. And for just grief, I see so many people that are grieving, and this whole year and a half, 2 years has been a worldwide grieving period. And we continue to go through that. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because it's not something to run away from or avoid, because it will come out in different ways that aren't productive.
This is also a message for all the parents out there. Literally, don't ever tell boys not to fucking cry, dude. Because crying is not a form of, like, lack of masculinity or anything.
Yeah.
That message is the most toxic masculine shit. And this applies for everything. It's like, literally, sadness is a very, very real thing, and it's okay to cry. And if you tell your kids not to cry, you might be raising a sociopath. I'm sorry. This sounds very, very candid right now. We tend to tell our kids not to feel, and maybe a part of me felt like I didn't allow myself to feel things a lot of times growing up, because it was a form of weakness and this and that. And obviously, you know, mental health is still very much a stigma in Asian communities. You know, it's like, the minute you talk about mental health, oh, this bitch is crazy, you know, like, this bitch is mental.
The wonderful part about being in my 30s now is that I just have this acceptance of who I am, owning who I am, that I did not have in my 20s when I was starting to build my career. It's like, there's a sense of kind of freedom and acceptance that that just comes along with continuing to find and form your identity. And that comes
Exactly.
It continues to evolve, like you said, throughout your entire life. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because there's so many people that have that inner critic, inner voice. It's not to say that like I never experience it. It's more of like, as you start to address some of these thoughts and feelings and actually say them out loud or write them down, you realize, wow, no, actually there's so many things about myself, about other people, that there is beauty in it. And I think not to like say, oh, toxic positivity, like, oh, everything, just think positively.
You don't like that? No.
Yeah,
no.
I think that it's more about just finding, like you said, the gratitude in even the most difficult times, and finding people that support you during those difficult times.
When I was growing up, my family was amazing. My parents made me feel so loved. Even when I was like cute little like chubby like kid, like they always made me feel like I was hot shit, and I love that. I love my parents for that. But I remember I was born a little darker than the rest of my family, and I went to an all Chinese school in Indonesia, as in by heritage, and I am Chinese Indonesian by heritage, but there's this whole stigma where you're darker, like you're kind of looked down on. And I remember doing this English class, and there's this one kid, and more power to him. I literally forgive him. He was going through shit, like they were going through shit too. But they went up to me and said, "Your mom's really pretty and hot and white. Are you adopted?" And I was like I don't know, second grade maybe when this was happening, or maybe younger, I don't know. And that like I literally, like one day I was at the mall and I just asked my mom, I was like, am I adopted? And my mom's like, why would she even ask that? And I look like an exact copy of my dad. Like literally me and my dad was identical at that point. Like now I look like a mixture between my dad and my mom. But like at that point, literally like baby photos of my dad, baby photos of me. And the only difference is his was black and white and mine wasn't. Like literally we look the same. It was not even funny. So there is no way. And this is not to like talk down people who are adopted. I mean, there's so much beauty in that to have a family that chose you. But
I think that you're saying that planted a seed of self-doubt, really.
Self-doubt and an issue with self-worth and self-love. And it's like, already being chubby and being dark and being this and being that and being different because I was so artistic and didn't understand that. These things always really, really got to me. And I just want to like show this out there. If you have a bully or you have that voice, if that is coming from a real person, just know that that person is hurting more, and know to not let that get to you, because no matter how hard and how painful it is, it's not valid if you don't make it valid. Absolutely. It really isn't. And I know it's the hardest thing because kids are mean. Kids are really fucking mean. And sometimes I don't want to have kids because of that, but that's a whole other story. And I want one day when I have children, I want my children to live in a world where they're treated with kindness, where they go out. And it's like that Malcolm X quote, right? Where it's like, you want to live in a world where your kids are being treated not by the color of their skin, but, by their deeds. And that's kind of like the quote, right? Sorry if I'm like butchering it, but, literally.
The point is that it's true kindness, and that people are judged by their acts and not by how they look or who they love. And I think that's just such a powerful message. So looking forward, what message would you like to leave listeners with as we head out today?
I think the one message that's been lingering with me the most is, number one, self-love. For sure. I mean, I've said this too many times. I sound like a broken record, but have self-love and give yourself a pat in the back. Treat yourself once in a while. Like, cool down a little bit. Don't be sleep deprived like me 2 months ago, because self-love is so important. Self-love, self-worth, self-respect is very important. That's number one. Number two, be kind. Even if the world's not being kind to you, be kind, because why hurt other people if you're just going to create more issues? Be kind because you can. because that is a
It's
form
free.
of respect. And that is in every shape or form, a form of privilege to be kind, you know, and because that shows that no matter what, you're strong enough, right? And I guess the last message for me is be the change you want to see in the world. Be that person. Find your purpose, but create your own purpose. Be that one person that you look up to change the world. I'm not saying I'm fucking Nelson Mandela or anything, but I hope that the day I die, I can harness all of my life experiences into my work, and I want my work to inspire at least one person out there. And I feel like if one person out there changes that one little thing in their life, where they pick up a camera or a paintbrush, or I don't know, like a tennis racket, whatever they want to do, because they saw my work or because they saw the message in my work.
Living vivaciously, creating your purpose, having self-love, and really embracing those that you truly love. And thank you so much for being on the show today. I am just so grateful to have met you and cross paths with you.
Likewise.
If you or anyone else you know needs help and is feeling suicidal, please call 1-800-273-TALK. Again, 1-800-273-TALK. Thank you so much for listening to the Color Success Podcast. Listen, like, subscribe on all major streaming platforms, YouTube, IG, and if you want exclusive content, you can join our Patreon. All links can be found at colorofsuccesspodcast.com.